What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, Connor on Chain. So, definitely been a little while. Um, the markets, of course, have been an absolute bloodbath. Nothing has been holding up. Any support levels continuously have been broken. The markets legitimately just have been looking really bad right now. So, with Bitcoin, with basically everything happening, it is just consistent downside, consistent down only. So, I want to cover a few things, with a lot of these crashes, and what I'm still doing, even things that I'm looking at. So, let's jump into it because we definitely got to see what is going to be happening in the future. Because with Bitcoin here, it's getting to a point though where I definitely feel like we are fairly close to a bottom of some sort. This is just on a daily. We got the RSI showing some sort of divergence here, which, especially from a high time frame, is usually a very good sign, meaning that I don't think Bitcoin is going to visit these kind of lows again on the RSI, which was all the way to 24. So that was very oversold from a daily perspective. And depending on what it does not mean that it can't go lower. It could go lower, but it would probably make the RSI start to bounce and flip into an uptrend while price is still making, maybe some more downside moves. But what that means is that eventually this is going to start reversing and flipping upwards. But when we're dealing with something like a daily time frame, usually it takes a while. It's not something that's going to happen in 2 days. It might take multiple weeks from when you start to see like divergence, stuff like that. So, this is one of the only indicators I use, especially on a higher time frame, to gauge, what where the potential bottom could be and where the markets are going to start moving. And obviously Bitcoin leads the way in every way, shape, or form. But it has been brutal, you know, and it's crazy because I expected this kind of downside, maybe not this low. I thought potentially here this might have been close to the bottom, if not the bottom, around 85K. That's something I've been watching like a level for a long time. Because when Bitcoin tends to go on these massive runs, I call them just major impulses. Lots of times Bitcoin is not going to just touch previous support level. So most of the time it is going to go up, and then when it comes down, it doesn't go down all the way. You know, from here it went from, all the way to the lows like 30 something K, right? All the way to 70, and it really only hit 50K, something right around there. But it did have multiple wicks, multiple rejections, held that area, and same thing, since we had such an impulse, I knew we would be getting some downside at some point, but I would not have thought that it was going to be this prolonged, and especially with altcoins from memes to AI agents, stuff like that. Those have been absolutely wiped. They've been destroyed. Even virtual, which is a project I'm super bullish on still. Look at this chart. This is ripped to the downside faster than I think it went up. It is down like legitimately about 90% from its all-time high. In about a month and a half, it ran up, and same thing, a month and a half, it's just almost straight down. Everything in this market has been taking a hit, even majors. It's kind of random, but XRP is a major that, in my opinion, still is holding. But same thing, I think XRP specifically, if we pull it up, 100% think this is just going to continue to break through. This is something I'm actually looking for a potential short, but at the same time, I don't think this is going to hold, especially if we continue to bounce and chop and we have one more low, as in if Bitcoin hits, low 70s to mid 70s, which is still on the table, it's at 78. I have a feeling we might see something like this on our XRP, and maybe it goes back into another leg, but everything has been taking a brutal hit, guys. But when it comes down to bull runs, guys, and previous runs, it's very common for Bitcoin to actually have massive pullbacks like this. Maybe as far as for altcoins pulling back 90% after ripping 50x, like you know, in the midst of this kind of bull run, yes, I feel like that's not as normal, obviously, but even in 2021, Bitcoin had this 53 or overall 50% pullback before finally running again, attempting a new high. Technically did, but didn't really hold at all. You know, most bull runs, Bitcoin is going to go through massive corrections. Obviously, the difference here, though, is like macro conditions really are affecting the market now. And a lot of these pullbacks in previous bull runs were very quick. Maybe a couple weeks long until they kept going or a price kept going. But as of here, for Bitcoin, we got a potential support level anywhere in this region around 70K, where if it's actually going to come down all the way and hits it, this would probably be the bottom before we get at least some sort of major relief bounce. That would be my guess. But at the same time, like I said, the RSI is kind of showing signs, at least at the moment, that we might be somewhat bottomed. I'm not saying the bottom is today or tomorrow. Probably going to be another couple weeks. Or maybe, 2 weeks of just chopping. Maybe it goes up like this. One more downside move, before it finally flips that momentum bullish, and starts another uptrend. Main thing I'm just watching for that, it's kind of just this level here. It's not the clearest by any means right here at all, but we have just this bearish momentum, right? If we kind of try to draw it out somewhat so it fits, we just have the just heavy downswing, right? Price is just rejected from this area multiple times. And so our goal for Bitcoin is to break above it, hold it, and not make another lower low, right? So it's just going to be a patience game from here for Bitcoin, for the entire altcoin market, because we've seen a lot of stuff happen. Because again, it's not even just Bitcoin though. It has been the stock market taking a massive hit as well. So if we go to, even if you look at the S&P is down crazy. I mean, from the high, which was in, a couple weeks ago, around almost 10% down. It looks like this might be a legit bottom for it. This is a pretty strong support level, I would think. We got multiple times where price kind of rejected here. Another major rejection, flipped into support, even though here didn't come down. This looks like a potential level where price could at least solidify itself, chop a bit, bounce. Maybe it goes down one more time before it breaks above double bottoms, triple bottoms before it finally starts moving back. So, the macro just has not been looking great, of course. And it says the real reason markets are crashing. This is by the Kobisi letter. Over the last 2 months, the S&P 500 crypto have erased. That is unbelievable. $5.5 trillion in market cap. We have just witnessed one of the most sudden shifts in sentiment since 2020. I'm not going to go through this thread, but this was just nuts. I feel like we have legitimately been in a semi-bear market in the middle of a bull run. It's been kind of crazy. But as far as sentiment though, sentiment is obviously still horrible. Because it's like I've wanted to make a bunch of videos on different projects, different things like that. But at the same time, especially buying low caps and stuff like that, when sentiment is like this, is a death sentence. It is very questionable to be buying anything, at least it's not fairly established. One coin that I've been accumulating, one that I really like, is actually BitTensor. That's one I've been, I guess in some of my previous videos, I've been talking about on and off. BitTensor itself, it's been holding up very well. And I'd expect this to either break this, especially if we keep coming lower. This is a literal stop loss, kind of hitting that, but I have a feeling that if Bitcoin is going to break and it goes a little bit lower, we're going to see a lot of coins break their long-term supports. So if we get rid of this, BitTensor itself is just sitting at a high time frame support right now. And I think this is probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest, AI coin in the market. Um, and good chances like double bottoms, triple bottoms, bounces heavily, even if it breaks below. Um, but it's just it's just nuts seeing some of this stuff. And even ETH guys, ETH is now, as of today, has broken well below its high time frame support level. This to me is a very crucial level that Ethereum is just not held up whatsoever at. It doesn't mean that, it's over either for alts or anything like that, but I'd say if we can see over the next couple of weeks, same thing. If Bitcoin can bottom and Ethereum kind of bottoms out, we get over this chop. Ethereum kind of does the same thing. It's not going to just, in two candles, it's not going to just recover and bounce. Most bounces, they're going to chop. It's probably going to do something like this or something like this. Just kind of sit around, chop for a while until it finishes out the bottom. The RSI, you can see the momentum is still kind of down, but once it starts swinging up, even if price continues to just chop, maybe makes one more low, in my opinion, that is going to be when this finally starts to reverse. Like, we've just been in a downtrend on ETH for a long time now. But one coin that I have been watching a lot is Sui. I think Sui is probably one of the cleanest charts that I can see in the entire market. Around $2, I think is a very, very good entry for Sui. This is something I've been waiting almost 2 months for to actually come down and hit this kind of support area. I mean, this is on a daily time frame, but it's as simple as just drawing a bar right across the previous levels. And it's kind of hitting that right now. But if this can go even a little bit lower, in my opinion, this is one of the cleanest charts in the market right now. I think Sui is probably going to be a pretty good performer long term in the market. But like I'm saying too, it's like to be buying things right now is still, it's going to be very up in the air. But, this is the time when you want to be jumping into stuff when sentiment is at literal zero. I'm pretty sure CoinGecko had like a market sentiment tool. I don't know where that is, but yeah, it's like everything's just down like crazy. But these are some of the things that I'm doing, Like, I'm just watching a lot of higher cap stuff. Because normally, guys, I love low caps, finding a lot of micro caps, things like that. But it is just not the time to be doing that whatsoever. Unless you are very skilled, in the meme coin trenches or Solana trenches like that, I don't think it is the time to be looking for new stuff right now. Like, yes, doing research, of course, but as far as, buying anything, accumulating, micro caps, low caps, they are so volatile. It is, very questionable to be doing that. But, there's always two sides to everything, too. You could say, well, this is the best time to be accumulating anything, because we are lower than I think anyone ever thought we could go right now, right? But for me, like I said, I'm just watching a lot of higher cap stuff that I think has been, showing a lot of strength, a lot of high caps with very good charts. Like I said, like Sui. BitTensor, I would say, doesn't have the best chart right now, but I still think this is just a banger project. Probably one of the number one AI coins in the market. Their subnets over the last few weeks have been pretty on and off too. You've seen some gains in a couple different subnets, just, a few X's here and there. But the thing with these subnets too, though, is I think if and when BitTensor really does bounce, attempts to go into another leg and really starts an uptrend, that is when you're going to see subnet tokens go crazy, in my opinion. That's why I still love that ecosystem. It's something I've been watching now for at least a month and a half. Just learning. I'm familiar with probably almost every subnet at this point. I just think it's a great overall ecosystem. It's just the next tier of AI ecosystems that I firmly believe has a lot of room to grow. But it's basically going to be betting on the entire market recovering and running into new highs or something like that, you know? Because at this point, it seems like we could legitimately have been topped out all the way back here, but in my opinion, I just don't think it is. We got a couple other things too. We got Raul Paul. Crypto's feeling the tightening in liquidity from the stronger dollar and higher rates in Q4 2024. That is almost done, and financial conditions are easing fast, and M2 is headed back to new highs. This is just a regular correction. So, I've seen a lot of people talking about this, like the global M2, which I think is correct. It's basically when money is injected into the markets, injected into everything. That is when everything really starts to run, when QE is fully happening. And it looks like the M2 right now is starting to show signs that it is starting to go crazy. But Bitcoin is completely lagging in the opposite direction right now. It could just take a little bit more time. I'm not going to go through this thread or anything like that, but same thing. This is just another post I had up. Bitcoin's now at 78K, only 8K away from fully converging with the path that the M2 money supply charted 70 days ago. So overall, it's pretty interesting stuff here, but I am still in this market accumulating some top projects like BitTensor, like I've said probably 12 times already. This to me is just a great coin overall. But outside of that, I have a couple trade setups that I've been waiting for that I've been paying attention to. And like I said, for XRP, even for potential short, could be something. There are ecosystems that I've been diving into as well. But a lot of that stuff I don't even want to talk about, bring up on the channel. I'm not going to be telling you guys, oh, buy these coins, buy, 5 to 10, 15 different random altcoins when sentiment is this low. I'd like to see a lot more confirmation that we are actually going to start moving higher into another leg, and when altcoins are actually going to start moving instead of just Bitcoin. To be talking fully about all these altcoins and stuff, because of course, I live to find all these micro caps, low caps, but like I've said again, I don't think it is the time to be allocating heavily into just micro caps and stuff, unless we know for a fact this next leg is really going to start happening, and we know that at least ETH is going to start moving, because this is going to be the number one factor as far as any sort of alt season happening. I firmly believe that. I think we really just need to see ETH have a godlike run at some point. If I think once ETH decides to correct itself, really start moving, that is going to be when we see basically everything in the market start to go green, because I think it's going to breathe a ton of life into altcoins. But it's just going to be a patience game with a lot of this stuff. Sometimes the best thing to do, either accumulate conviction coins, top tier projects that you really like in times like this, or just sitting on your hands and knees. If you really believe in the projects you're holding, unless you've stabled up a little bit, I would say continue to accumulate on massive dips. And again, just potentially even just sit on your hands and knees and do nothing and just wait this out. That is what I'm doing. That's what I've been focused on for a while now. But it's like seeing all this red for so long, it takes the life out of you sometimes. Sometimes I definitely got to step away as well. I can't be locked into the charts, unless I'm looking for shorts, which is something I've been doing for a while, on and off. But unless you're looking for shorts, literally trying to scalp, even taking like better sized trades on 1 hour, 4 hour, mid-range swing trade to the downside, there's not much you should be doing in the market right now. So outside of that, that's what I wanted to cover today. Give you guys a little bit of information on what's going on, what I'm thinking about, what I'm doing. But I still believe in this market, as brutal as this has been. I think once we can start seeing bullish sentiment flip, we start to see quantitative easing happening and macro conditions work a lot better. flipping into more risk on assets and altcoins, decide to actually start to get bullish again, that is going to be when we start to see this market really reverse, get a lot more bullish. So outside of that, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.